and McCann.
Greetings. Welcome to Wake the Dead. Today, we are very delighted to have a first-time guest, Max Lowen. Welcome, Max.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are an elder in this community, and we're very delighted to be learning from you today. You are a survivor of SRA mind control, and you do interviews with other survivors, and you help to heal these broken people. And you have Unbroken.Global is your website, your hub, where people can find you and what you do. You're a powerful force in this community, and we're very welcome to we're very happy to welcome you here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that lovely introduction. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm just myself here doing the best I can. But I started out a few years ago. I just knew that I had to start speaking out about the things that I was put through. And then I started interviewing other satanic ritual abuse survivors, but also interviewing all kinds of other people, because I want to expose basically the psychopathic, pedophile, satanic global cult that runs the planet. Are they the same people that abused me? So I have interviewed a variety of people, even including Mark Passio and others, anyone has truth about any component of how the cult works, because they've infiltrated everything, right? So I've interviewed all kinds of people. I think knowing the truth about how the world really works is super important. That's what will break the mind control. And the other thing is doing our inner work. You can call it shadow work or healing work or whatever it is, because they can control us through our wounding a lot. So it's important to so if you go inward and you fix that, and then you know what's going on out here, you become immune to their influence. And the more of us, when we get to a certain point and, we stop consenting because when we don't say no to this agenda, they consider it implied consent. And per their own satanic law, they have to reveal what they're about to do. And they always do if you have eyes to see. But if we're just passive and compliant, then we're saying yes to that agenda.
Right.
So when you do your work and you step into your power more, and they've disempowered us. So I think all of that is really, really important. And actually, if people go to my website, Unbroken.Global, and they go to the tab that says classes, in mid-January, I'm doing a 5-week course on trauma. Because if you're born on this planet, you're traumatized. It's part of the reality here. It may be a continuum, so you may be somewhere along the way, but I think it's really important. Yeah, I think it's really important to understand it individually and collectively, because trauma-based mind control is their tool, right? So in case people are interested, they can go there and sign up. And then if there are people who are survivors of violence of any kind, I'm also going to start a group at the same time in mid-January. So group therapy can be really great. I've done a lot of groups in the past, and it can be a really much less expensive, and also a kind of a supportive environment. When people are traumatized and have gone through that, they feel very isolated. So there's something really beneficial about doing group work. So anyway, in case that's helpful to people, those are things that are coming up in about a month.
That's wonderful. I hope everybody definitely dives in to what you had to teach them, because you're right. trauma is the main tool. Trauma makes us blind to everything that's happening, and so it's the main mechanism. And you said that that as we heal ourselves, inner healing, and we can heal the trauma that they have done to us. Like they all put our entire society through various levels of trauma. I mean, even like 9/11 was trauma to see it again and again.
Oh, yeah.
And then this blinds us to what, we can genocide these people because, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, basically, and the idea of if they can make a perfect slave out of one person, what's to say that one person isn't running Canada? You know what I'm saying? Or
Well,
like the
indeed.
Vatican, right?
Yeah, indeed, that is how they do it. So, see, with trauma, if you even go and look at, for example, the history of the Tavistock Institute. So, satanic ritual abuse is really ancient. It's the first form of trauma-based mind control. But then the military and psychiatry kind of came into the picture, and now we have technology. So, the Tavistock Institute, in their sort of mission statement, they say that they are going to use future shock to get people to accept eventually a one world government. So what does that mean? When there's a trauma, it shocks you. It smashes the person and you fragment internally. So then when you're not coherent inside, you can be programmed. And so, for example, with me and other survivors, and the Jesuits are one of the best mind control experts on the planet. And so, and they know that the biggest trauma, the most effective trauma, is sexual abuse of a child before age 5. That causes so much dissociation that then this is how they program people later to go assassinate whoever they want, or to be a super soldier, or to be a honeypot, or whatever. So they traumatize the child, and then the psyche splits, and there's an altar, and then they program that altar. So they use torture, they use all kinds of things, electric shock and rape and other things to do that, and they program in what they want. And so what you mentioned is correct. So all the people that are in, like, the leaders of the world in different forms have been put through this themselves. Okay, so this is how they're prepared and groomed for their role. That's exactly correct.
Right. So I'm assuming there's a hierarchy, and there's like an ancient, like a bloodline levels of hierarchy. And for a long time, the Roman Catholic Church and the Vatican have been in control of the world and the minds of the world.
Yes.
Can you tell us about your family, or how you were brought up in this system, please?
Yeah. I want to validate what you said about the Vatican being sort of in charge of the mind. See, the Holy See, SEE, is really the Holy See, SEA. It's the Sea of Consciousness. So the Vatican, as probably you know and your viewers know, is not part of any country. It's its own area. And they were responsible for the mind control, the Jesuits. Then Washington, D.C., which is not part of the United States, is the military arm. And then the City of London is the financial arm, right? So
Right.
so the Vatican, correct, is kind of, and they were sort of in charge of our souls, of harvesting our souls. So that's the kind of the background. And they are Luciferian, okay? They
Right.
worship Lucifer. And if you have eyes to see, you can see it throughout all the art in the Vatican. the room where the Pope sits, and it's the auditorium room. There's this sculpture behind him that is completely demonic. I mean, you really have to be, again, pretty fragmented not to see all the symbology. Once you know symbols, you'll see it everywhere there. And I would even venture to say the ritual of communion. Okay, so you eat the flesh and drink the blood of the
I
Lord,
agree
right?
completely. Yes,
That's
yes.
that's satanic. They're cannibals and they drink blood.
Right.
And, as part of the torture I went through, I was taken to the subterranean levels. It's way below, even the tombs they have. It's like way, way, way under. And I witnessed them bringing in babies and children, and, they would have VIPs in attendance. And, it was a special ritual ceremony. And they would brutalize the child and then cut them from here down, cut them open on an altar, and collect the blood in chalices and share it out and drink it. And sometimes they'd pluck out like the heart or some of the organs and eat them. And this was a sacrifice to Lucifer or to sometimes other demonic entities. But this is what they do. This is what they do. So, and that is not to say people, go through religion, people worship the divine. And that's genuine and authentic. And
Right.
we have that divine connect, but that's one of the things they want to fragment. If you
That's what they
fragment a
hijack.
person,
Yeah.
yeah, if you fragment a person internally, and then with the divide and conquer programs with race and gender and all this, you fragment people socially from each other. You're also fragmenting people from their divine connection. And sometimes religion, unfortunately, is a tool to do that. But that doesn't mean that people who are trying to connect with God are not authentically trying to do that. So I always want to give that caveat, because I'm not, I believe in, I
Right.
know there's a God and a creator. I just see a lot of distortions within religion that are actually, problematic. So I just wanted to kind of
To say the
preface
least,
that. Yeah.
problematic. Wow.
Yeah. Even the word religion, the root of it is religare. I mean, it's to bind. Okay.
Right.
So it's binding us. I wonder about the sign of the cross, because you're touching your pineal, you're touching your heart, and then you're binding, right?
Right.
So,
And when you pray, you're bringing your power together and like not putting it out into the world. Like your hands
mm,
are together, not affecting outward. It's like, I mean, I guess we do need inner to look inside to heal ourselves, like you were saying. Um, inner awareness of self and outer awareness of the mind control are the real
yeah,
tools. That's the real tools that are going to change
yeah.
things.
And you don't need a priest or a rabbi or an imam or a pope or anyone to be the intermediary. We have a direct connection, and that it's inside of us,
That's right.
So that's the little twist that religion does. Like everything has its little twist, and that's the one there. So,
Right.
so to answer your original question, yeah, I was targeted. It was my Italian side of the family. And so I grew up in a bunch of countries because of my dad was, with the State Department and, worked in embassies overseas. My dad was the American one. But every summer and every Christmas, my mom would take us to Rome. And then when I was 14, we lived there full time after my parents divorced. And so her older brother was running a facility underground in the outskirts of Rome. There are these underground facilities everywhere in the world, everywhere. And they're military, they're medical, they sacrifice children, they do, there's a whole underground world. There's tunnels that connect places. And so I was taken to this facility a lot and tortured there with things like electric shock and like simulated drowning, being put in freezers, um, being buried alive with dead bodies, and having to watch the torture and killing of animals and people Gypsies would be kidnapped to be tortured because they're undocumented in Rome, in Italy. So, and then there was a connection between this facility and that underground level of the Vatican. And so I was also taken to these elite parties. They would be in castles, mansions, sometimes with grounds, and they would have the hunting parties where they would bring in a bunch of us children, and we would have to go run and hide in the woods, in the, on the grounds, and then we would be hunted. And, I would witness at least one child be sacrificed. I have seen at some of the parties indoors, they have a banquet table, and I have seen them bring cooked babies as the delicacy. When I would be brought to these parties, I would be dressed up, and the other kids too, in really nice outfits. It was kind of black tie. It was sort of like, some of them were like Eyes Wide Shut, except that movie didn't show the children being brought in. And so then, these pedophiles, they like their certain gender, their certain age, their certain race. And so, then the adults would just have their way with whatever child or children they wanted. At one of the outdoor parties I was taken to, I actually witnessed, this is a little brutal, but I witnessed them impaling two babies on a really long, kind of old-fashioned sword while they were alive, and swinging it around, and a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs, and a lot of torture, a lot of brutalization, and a lot of course, pedophilia, rape of children. Some children are killed, some are not. It's a really horrible world that these people live in, and the Vatican traffics children itself. So from there as well. Yeah.
Wow. So these people, in quotes, are doing these actions. Are they infused with the spirit of evil? Do they have demonic spirits within them causing them to choose to do this?
I think that many of them do. They do many rituals to invite demonic entities into them. That's part of what I have seen in the Vatican. When they sacrifice children, it's to bring in these kind of dark entities. So they open portals with the rituals. Sometimes now, more in the age of technology, they accept sort of implants. They have almost like an AI controlling them, a dark AI. There's all kinds of things, and some of them, I would just say, have been brutalized themselves and then grow up and are just so twisted, and they've just turned to the dark. And then I hope this isn't outside of your paradigm, but then there's also those that have that are reptilian, and they mimic, so they're sort of human, or they're hybrids, and so that's why they're so dark and evil. So it's really a bit of a combination of a lot of things. But why I think people have a really hard time believing this is because you and I mean, it hurts. We have mirror neurons. We have empathy. We have, if even if you're watching a movie and there's some scene where someone gets hurt, you feel it, you cry,
Right.
So we can't hurt, and no normal human could imagine raping a newborn baby, which they do, right? So that seems impossible. People are like, no, that can't be. Well, no, that can't be for you, human being, but these creatures, as a friend of mine calls them, they're not really human anymore. And they not only can and do these things, but most of them actually enjoy it. Yeah.
Right. It's like they're another species, but they look like us. Right. I mean, okay. Uh, so these, uh, so the Vatican is like, that's on top of ancient child sacrifice and pedophilia, and that is on top of ancient, child sacrifice, pedophilia. It's like just a continual churning of this evil, and it's like perpetuating, and they need our consent, right? Why? I mean, and only someone who's truly evil could do that, like a bayonet to a baby, or like to rape a newborn. I mean, it takes, and that's the kind of consent that they require to be placed into power, right? Do you see that's true?
Yeah, if you're going to go into any kind of global position or high position in politics, you're going to have to go through a ritual when you're around 40 that involves raping a baby or a child and possibly sacrificing that baby or child as well. Like, so some people are kind of born into these bloodline families, and so they're done to in this way too, again, to be groomed and prepared for future roles. But other people, the cult is always looking out for people. So my friend and also MK or Monarch programming survivor Kathy O'Brien, she describes her story was her dad. It was a multi-generational incest family. So her dad was abusing her from birth, and then was making porn with her when she was a toddler. And he had sent the porn through the mail and gotten caught. And then this is classic cult. They catch someone like they did her dad and then offer him, well, we won't prosecute you and we'll actually give you money if you give us your daughter into the MK Ultra Monarch programming. And so some people are brought in by chance like that. Other situations are they'll identify, sometimes it's kids, like, those gifted programs and all that kind of stuff in the schools. They're actually looking for gifted kids in some arena, and then they will bring those kids, unwittingly to work for them. Any like great scientist, mathematician, anything that they can use, any human that has abilities or talents or intellect that might serve them, they will usually trick them into, sometimes, it's all compartmentalized. So people can be working for evil and not know it, and at the bottom levels of everywhere, like police and even the Freemasons and militaries, they're good people. They're going in there for innocently for good reasons. But at the top levels of even of hospitals, of education, of medicine, of pharma, at the top levels, there will be cult people, and that's who's actually running things. So often, like, somebody might be doing research on something and be told, oh, this is for, for good in some way, and not understand that they're actually working for the cult and doing something that's going to be used for evil. So it's very complicated. It's not really simple or black and white,
Right.
and the yeah, and the people that you'll see in positions of power, I mean, they've chosen incorrectly. They've chosen to follow the dark path, but they've also been victims of a lot of this stuff.
Right. We need to have compassion for all souls trapped in this churning evil of, I mean, it's just grinding us up, and
Yeah, it is. I mean, but look how many of us are still good, right? And we
right.
still love each other, and there's a natural disaster, and everyone tries to help everyone. And,
Good point.
people love their kids. And so they can't snuff out that true human spirit as much as they want to. And I think that's where they underestimate us. They underestimate love because they see that as a weakness that we have, but it's actually a great strength of ours.
Right. that's the source of it all, right? And
Yeah.
they want to sever themselves from that because,
Yeah.
like, you fool, right?
Yeah.
But really,
And
that's
they
just
have
from their
severed.
fear. They are afraid.
Yeah. Well, they've severed themselves from that divine essence of themselves and from that, or that life force energy that comes through us all. But see, that's why they need us. That's why they need us, because they have created a hell on earth reality, but through us they can't create anything. So part of the mind control is to engineer us to create negative things, right? And so that's again part of where we all have to say no. Like,
Right.
if you're a policeman and you're being sent to arrest someone for posting something true on social media, well, what are you doing? You have to say no, because you're perpetuating evil. And at that point, you know it. And if you're a teacher and you're being told to tell kindergartners, that boys can be girls or how to masturbate or whatever, no, that's itself sexual abuse. The curriculum today that's been inserted into the schools, it's to groom towards normalizing pedophilia, which is what they want.
Right.
But
Starting
so
with
teachers
Kinsey.
have to say, yeah.
Right.
So teachers have to say no to, if people just started saying, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go blow those people up. I'm not going to arrest these people. I'm not going to teach this crap. They can't do it without us. Bill Gates is not flying the plane that sprays us with chemtrails.
That's right. That's right. And if all those cops and soldiers don't think with their heart and they
Yeah,
just do what they're told, then they're obviously automatically complying with evil. We see it everywhere. It is our world. They are people just, we're just doing what we're told. I mean, that's what
right.
the Nuremberg trials, what did they all say? Like, I mean, and who's telling them that really? Like, ultimately, I mean, it's evil. Evil is where the orders come from. It's like a hierarchy,
Yeah,
you know, um, compliance with someone else. And that's how a hierarchy is constructed. That is like, it is the absence of free will. And God gave us all free will. Like, if we choose to not use it, then we are evil. So I'm glad that you bring that up. So yeah, they're doing like levels of trauma on everything and everybody. Uh, for some reason, um, we give standing ovations to people that burn children. Like, I mean, we know it's true, and we're like, yay. So it takes there's got to be. I mean, it's obvious for people that can see what's happening. This lack of compassion is part of the system, and it's like the necessary tool, and the compliance with evil is like the engine of the that fuels it. Because if everybody was working for themselves, they'd all be fighting amongst each other. But to be in a congruent system, like you were talking about, how, like, I mean, all scientists say that mankind is a cancer on the earth. Bill Gates is going to save us from that, right? That's all mind control. Like, the earth fruited us to be this many on this earth and to have consciousness, like, as opposed to beasts that just kill and eat. We are fruiting. This world is growing into a more aware and compassionate existence. Predators are just like a 1%. Like, everything else is in love with the rest of like the world working together. I guess it's not really much of a question. Okay, so the
Yeah. No.
hierarchy. Can you tell us a little bit about the hierarchy? I mean, from what you've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to address some of what you said too. So, for example, I was put through satanic rituals, which involve, altars and sacrifices and rape and blood and, all this stuff. But they've done satanic rituals on the collective. So 9/11 was one. That's actually one of their sacrifice dates. Halloween is
Yeah.
a big sacrifice date too. So it was a sacrifice by fire, and it was not some airplanes and those were holograms. It was blown up. It was deliberate. It was planned way in advance. And it's the Hegelian dialectic. So the towers, oh, terrorism, terrorism, and then the Patriot Act passes and the TSA was formed, and now we have cameras everywhere surveilling us everywhere we go, and we have to get prodded, like, patted down. And so it was to normalize a surveillance state. I don't know if I can say it. I don't think you're on YouTube, but
Please do.
COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thrown off YouTube a year and
Me
a
too.
half
Well,
ago.
I've
But
had very much troubles with them, and I won't post it
yes,
here. But Rumble,
so
BitChute, Odyssey are very good
yeah,
places that people
exactly,
should go.
same. So COVID was a satanic ritual, and they always have a boogeyman. So with COVID, it was a virus, which that's a whole nother topic, but that's all made up too.
Right.
And so then get people scared, and if you pump fear into people, that's one of the primary ingredients for mind control. So fear and helplessness, and then repetition. So you saw that with COVID. It's so recent. I think it's a good example. So
Very good. Yes.
you could see all the news stations saying literally the same sentences. They're told, say this, and it's repeated and repeated and repeated. So even if even, and then they still put out the facts, because I was trying to tell people, even on the CDC website, they're saying this thing has basically a 98 point something percent survival rate. Like, it has the mortality rate of the flu. It's not, there's no pandemic, nothing is happening.
Right. The flu
But
disappeared that
even,
year. The regular flu
right,
disappeared.
right. So, but why did people believe it? The repetition and the fear. So see, we have different components to our brain. On the brain stem, which they call the reptilian brain, interestingly,
Right.
then we have the limbic brain, and we have the cortex and the prefrontal cortex. So when we're in survival emotions like fear, it's the brain is geared to survival. So in a real dangerous situation, thinking would take too many seconds. So you
Right.
react instantly. So when you go into fear, the prefrontal cortex shuts down and you react. So what better way to keep people from thinking critically than keep them always in their brainstem, in their reptilian brain, and and limbic brain, it's the emotions. So it was a way to shut down critical thinking too, to keep people, and they've used this for in everything. Is something is always scary, and then and then humanity feels helpless, and then they always have the solution, which was their plan to begin with. So I just want to point out
Right.
that what they've done to me with rituals, they've done to the collective as well. So it's really important to know that. And the other thing you were talking about was, see, they've used social engineering over decades to make society more satanic. Like, we live in satanic values, like the ego, me, competition, survival of the fittest. This is all satanic ideology. So they have made us into their image, but they've done the grooming kind of slowly, and they've wanted to disable and destroy the family, because that's a very protective thing for the psyche of children growing up. I hate to say it, but they've used rock and roll groups and, actresses and actors and all these things to groom the population to accept more crazy stuff, more, it's that Overton window that Jamie talks about, that things begin to become normalized slowly over time. So they've engineered us to be where we are today. And if you look out there today, people can say, oh no, that I've heard people tell me, like, oh no, you're making that up about Satanism. I'm sorry. Look out there right now. That
Right.
Sam Smith, what was it, Grammy performance or whatever it was, where he was literally dressed as a devil. All the singers on stage, the football halftime shows, it's all the Olympic opening ceremony. All of it is satanic in your face, and the pedophilia is now in your face. They lowered the age of consent all over the world. They're starting to say, and again, the grooming, Freud, Kinsey, oh, children are sexual from birth. It's a slow grooming. And then lately, though, it's right there in our face. So I don't think anyone can deny that this is real anymore. So we've gotten to the point now where it's kind of the end game for them, and their kind of wet dream, I'm going to say, what is to live in a society that's Luciferian, and that where pedophilia is normalized. And so the Vatican was chosen to be these headquarters of the New World Order, one world religion. So, you can see them now starting to put together, oh, Islam and Judaism and Christianity, we're all one. I forget where it is, but
It's all mind control, right.
Yeah. So that's kind of been the agenda, and it's been a slow, deliberate grooming so that people get used to it. So they're shocked, but then they get used to it. So nowadays, I mean, imagine just like in the 40s or 50s, if you saw what people are doing in music videos today. If people back then saw that, they would be completely appalled and shocked and have a reaction. But they've drip, socially engineered us into accepting things that are not acceptable and not moral and not okay. So unfortunately, it's kind of become, they've done a pretty good job. You got to give them that. They're very clever, they're very thorough, and they've really done a great job with that part of it. And then with the mind control, to the point, the mind control to the point that people actually believed there was a pandemic when there wasn't one, and willingly injected themselves with something that was known to be experimental and alter, your genes. I mean, no one in their right mind, without all that propaganda and fear, would be willing to do that, right?
Informed consent is an illusion with that whole thing. They wouldn't tell us anything about, like, the paper in the fold out was just blank. It was like,
the insert,
it's like they were smacking us in the face, like,
yeah.
You want to know the truth? Whack. No. Like,
well, they've gotten really bold lately. It's all gone out the window. I mean, did you see, I think it was the WEF, I think it was Schwab, who they put out something recently that they're now going to decide how old people can get to. So, like, the age that you have
death
to
panels.
die.
Right. Wow.
It just gets crazier and crazier. But this is what they've done slowly but surely. And then they've grabbed things like they've people not that long ago used to grow their own veggies, used to have chickens and goats and cows. And so within just 2 generations, they've steered us away from growing our own food and being self-sufficient to going to some store to buy food. And yeah, it's very convenient. But then they've recently killed more and more of the organic smaller stores. And then now you're left with their corporate stores, which are full of poison. So they've gained control of the food supply system, and that's one way to control humanity. They've slowly passed laws everywhere in the world to gain control of the water.
Right. The fluoride thing. The parents are worried. How do I fluoridate my, if they take out the fluoride, how will I get fluoride into my children? And they're like on social media, please tell me how to fluoridate my family's water. I'm like, wow. It is the worst. I can't imagine. Like, please, how will I be poisoned? And they're afraid they're not going to get poisoned anymore. It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please, you are doing.
No, that's a good example. And again, that was done by social engineering. At the time they had fluoride as an industrial waste, and one of the issues was how to dispose of it. So, hey, let's put it in the water but we'll also gain the fact that we'll lower IQ in children, and we'll calcify the pineal gland, and we'll make them stupid, right? And poison them at the same time.
Yep, and we'll give them more
sicker.
Right.
Yep.
And the
it's in the meds too.
Prozac is fluoride.
Yes.
Like it's all, the molecule is like, okay. Yes.
And that's not an accident. Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, one of these bloodline families, the Rockefellers, they created the current Western medical system, the allopathic medical system. They
Yes.
banned all real cures, herbal cures, and anything that used to actually heal, and knowledge of frequencies and all of that. And they bought off Congress. They created medical schools. They funded everything, but you have to teach medicine the way we want. So again, good people go in to try and be doctors, to be healers, but they're miseducated deliberately. And the model is to give people a pill or something to suppress a symptom. But actually, for example, the cold is your body fighting something. So the symptoms is showing that your body's actually, your immune system, God-given immune system, is taking care of the situation.
Right.
So what do? So if you have diarrhea, that's good. Your body's trying to clean something out. So if you take antidiarrheals and stop it, you're just prolonging the healing by that much more. So it's completely backwards, but that's Satanism, complete inversion of everything.
Well said. God. I love that your voice is on my show. I'm so thankful. This is wonderful. Um, okay, so they have controlled our food and they've controlled our medicine. They've controlled our minds. So they've basically dominated our bodies. Is that true? I mean, our breath,
Yeah.
we got the chemtrails, we got the
Yes.
fluoride in the water, we got all of the GMOs. Like, what are they doing to our genetics? Like,
And don't
and
forget sunlight.
right,
Sunscreen, sunglasses, bad for you. Really
yeah,
bad for you. You're supposed to get sunlight in through your eyes and through your skin. So that's part of the chemtrail agenda too, is to, I mean, think about it, just common sense.
I know.
What happens when the sun comes out? Everything wakes up, comes alive in the spring. The more sun there is, the
Source
more
of all
growth.
life, right?
It's the
Yes,
source of all life.
right.
So of course they want to twist that and make the sun some bad. Don't get sun. Cover your skin. Sunscreen is full of toxic chemicals. It's
Yes,
all so sneaky, but it's pounded into us over and over again. All these lies. So if you're born into a culture, which by the way has the word cult in culture, you you grow up hearing all this stuff. I mean, of course you're gonna think it's true. So it's really hard, because they've controlled everything. And then parents are mind controlled, so they mind control their children, not realizing it. Oh, and then a biggie there that I think I should mention, is attachment. Okay. So in psychology, they've done lots of studies, and the conclusion is that attachment for a human being or a mammal is more important than food. Okay. It's so critical to our development as human beings that when there isn't attachment, it causes all kinds of problems. So, one of the things they do in SRA is they deliberately break attachment. So, as a baby, I was put through horrific rituals to break the attachment to my mother, right? And parallel in society, they're breaking attachment everywhere. So now you go to give birth in a hospital, okay, which is itself really evil looking, and the vibes and the lights and everything. And then when the baby is born, they put it in that room with all the babies in a row in bassinets behind, and why are you taking a newborn away from you're supposed to be on the mother's body. Look at all the mammals on earth. The babies are always on the body, right? So they're breaking the attachment there. Then if you become a parent, you read these books that tell you to let your baby cry it out. Okay, that's destroying the child. Babies have to have their needs met when they have them. And that's how you build a strong, independent individual later in life. But of course, they want to do it all wrong and backwards. So all these baby books tell you the wrong thing to do. So they want to break attachment. Then, through the feminist movement, which was co-opted again by the cult and made into something very negative, now both parents go to work. The economy necessitates it now because they've destroyed that deliberately. So now you put your baby in daycare, you put your child in. So the state gets your child earlier and earlier and earlier. Again, the less family, parental influence, love, and attachment an individual has, the easier they are to mind control. And that's where you get the kind of, I'm going to call them sort of zombified humans of today that you and I see, and it causes us distress because we're like, wait, you know, you want to shake them. But so attachment has been a big thing as well, that they've really gone to great lengths to destroy in us. And, you know, so people are very, yeah, they are very broken
That's
in many, many ways. So not just they poison us, not just they miseducate us and mind control us, but they psychologically break us. They, you know, all the wars, the false flags, the 9/11s, the this, the that, the other. It's a constant, we live in a constant state of stress. And that's extremely destructive, not just to the psyche, but even to the body. But, you know, weak body, weak mind, right?
right. And that makes us susceptible to the non-corporeals that are feeding off of everybody who's suffering. I mean,
Yes.
the other hierarchy on the other side, they all need to be paid, you know, because they don't get the light of God. They have to suck it out of us.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I love that you're here. I'm so glad. Okay. Yes, like the attachment thing, circumcision is a huge thing that I fight with this show. That's like, if anybody ever invites me to their show, they're like, oh, what do you want to talk about first? First thing, circumcision, because our bodily autonomy is most important. And if I was held down and a piece of my body was forcibly removed, then that teaches me that I do not own my body. Someone else can do that to me. And with the Jewish system, they have the priest come in and actually drink the blood of the victim in front of everybody and so the trauma that everybody else endured while they were babies is reenacted, and then they have cake, you know, and this, like, the trauma and the reminding of the evil and the compliance with, I mean, everybody hears the baby scream and they have to say it's better, oh, it's cleaner, when really the foreskin is the point, the synapse point of love between two people. That's where creation happens. I mean, that's where, like, God resides there, you know what I mean? And they're like, chop it off. You're not allowed to feel that. No. Like, what? They do that to women too. I mean, but
Yeah.
in America, it's routine. They call it routine infant circumcision. So routine means ritual. That's what the same word. So ritual infant circumcision is the common norm. And the parents are like, you know, the hospitals are, oh, you're doing this, right? And parents have to say no. Because hospitals do it just because they make more money. It's like another $200 on the bill.
Right.
And then they
Right.
never look and see what happens to the kid later. They don't, and it's all a botch. Everything is botched.
Yeah.
But they don't see that. Like, whatever, they don't. It's all that trauma. That's intentional. That's on purpose.
It is.
To break our heads. Like, our heads are connected to our body, you know? And if they really want mind control, it's the best way to do it. And that's what they did to your body. They did to our friend Carrie Olahe's body, Nathan Reynolds' body. They dominated and took the ownership of it against your will, which is a sin, straight up, in all law, forever. And that transgression separates them from the creative light of goodness. And they have to have this hierarchy of compliance to feed themselves, or else they disintegrate into the lake of fire. I mean, why are they clinging on? Like, I don't understand their will. Like, why do they wish to be part of a hierarchy? And I mean, it doesn't make sense to me because I'm human, like I'm mankind, like I'm not a psychopath. But like,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I can think like that, but really that's what our show is trying to understand and to help everybody to heal that. You know, if people don't know that happened to them, some people are proud, like, oh, mine's better because I make girls feel good with it. And it's like part of their identity, you know, and like that has been robbed, you know, like all of everything of, and the males are who's going to fight, like when it comes down to it, who's going to protect the women and children, you know, and
Yeah.
how are the males ever going to bond with those women if they don't have the necessary nerve endings for that oxytocin bond to occur? Am I broken? Can I love? Like, is it great that I realize this? You know, am I like, at least I can think about it. Well, other people are like, just abuse the kid, like do it again, like make him look like me or whatever, you know, because we don't want to see the trauma. The more traumatic it is, the more blinding it is. And it's like, it's obvious for people that can see, like, babies don't want that happened. They don't want to be tied down and like,
No.
and then afterwards they don't attach to their mother's breast. I mean, that's
Yeah.
and that is
It's
food and connection, right? I mean, please,
yes.
sorry.
Food and attachment. Yeah. No, it's
Yes.
barbaric. It's torture to circumcise or to do any of that stuff, and it is deliberate. And you know, in a similar vein, and you're right. It's people just automatically take their little boys for this procedure. It's just what you do. Just like you take your children in to get
Horrific.
72 vaccines by the time
Ugh.
they're age 12 or something, you know, because
Ugh.
it's what the doctor tells you to do, right? So even right at birth, they try and,
Exactly.
you know, yeah. So people just they're so traumatized, they're just repeating the script over and over. And you're right in what you say. See, what you're saying is happens on an individual basis where when something is super traumatic and you can't handle it, you split off the event, it dissociates, there's amnesia to it, and it gets repressed. So it gets put away somewhere as a repressed memory. It'll come back later when you can handle it, but that's also what's happening in the collective. People are so traumatized that they split off from the trauma and they forget it. So if you look at history, there's places where trauma is discussed. It kind of comes up into the consciousness. Like after the First and Second World War, there was, you know, they called it combat stress or, you know,
Shell
combat shock
shock.
or
Shell
shell
shock.
shock.
Yeah.
Right. And then PTSD wasn't even put out there until 1980, I think. So they've tried to deny it, and then it comes up and then it's denied, and it comes up and it's denied.
Right, and it's put in categories. You only have PTSD if you went to war during 2016 to 2020 or whatever. Like, you know, and that's so that's how their lawyers pay the bills with all the contracts these evil contracts that they have. You know, so like they're redefining the terms and the. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I have
No, no,
problems.
it's okay. It's just it's what happens with trauma. There's this opposite, it's like it comes out and then it's suppressed and repressed, and comes out and it's suppressed and repressed. It's difficult to hold into awareness. So they count on that too, because you'd think people look at history that they'd see the same freaking patterns being repeated over and over, but they
Yeah.
don't. Well, because they've repressed that. It was so traumatic, they had to kind of erase it from their system and forget it, right? So it's part of a defense mechanism, unfortunately.
Right.
But yeah, it is and again, then people are abusing their own children with circumcision, with vaccines, with all this other stuff,
The bad
and they're
foods.
not
Yeah.
aware. They're not
Right.
aware that they're doing it. But again, that's what the cult wants. They want to get everybody to be doing their job for them. And one of the reasons that these creatures love innocent children so much is because they are like the closest thing to God. They are light. They are perfection. They are what the human really is. And so they're stealing that light and that life force because they don't have their own. And I think that's kind of the big question. Like, why the hell would you want to be part of that club? But it's the
Yeah.
ego is the master, not the soul. See? So that's the thing. So the ego has its place because we're in a physical body, but it should be subservient to the soul. But so that story of the fallen angels, I mean, I think it makes sense. Stories describe things and it makes sense because it's like these these fallen angels, they wanted to be God, so they had to, but they can't, so they took the opposite kind of end of things, and so they created their own false. Lucifer is the light bearer, but it's a false light, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like if we're the sun, they're the moon. Their light
Right.
is a reflection of our light. So
Right.
that's what they do. They use our light, and they want to, it's kind of an fu to God when you rape a baby, so that's deliberate too. So these people are very, very ego based.
Mm.
They give each other awards and prizes and titles and things all the time. I mean, they're very, very egoic, and the highest achievement for them is worldly power, fame, money, just control, when really the highest achievement would be connection with the divine, would be love, would be creating, right? But
Right.
they are destroyers. They destroy. They're a death cult. So
Yes.
they have different factions. And so one faction is the Order of the Black Sun. The Black Sun is the anti-sun. It's the opposite of the sun, right? So the Vatican is Black Sun, for example. Um, so, these people, they're, yeah, they're really the issue. We don't, and this is why they foment so
Right.
much divide and conquer, right?
Mm.
We only have one enemy on this planet, and it's them. So that what do? They divide us by religion, by race, by gender, by sexual orientation, by whatever.
Divide us
You
from our
know,
mother. I mean,
right. And
yeah.
and and why? Because if we're fighting each other, then we're not united. It's part of the fragmentation. Fragment the
Right.
psyche, fragment us from each other, fragment us from the divine. That's a winning formula for them. Because actually, I'll tell you, they're parasites. That's the way to describe them. What does a parasite need? It needs to feed off its host to live. They're feeding off us etherically, physically. I mean, they literally eat human flesh, but also they take our life force, for example, in earnings. They take a cut from our
Right.
paychecks. That's not right. Morally, it's theft. Okay.
That's
But
right.
again, they created the legal system. That's a whole nother rabbit hole, right? They control the judiciary. I mean, the judges are wearing black robes. Okay. They're high priests and priestesses. And this cult in the hierarchy, you asked about the hierarchy, way up there above global agencies and governments and all that are covens. Okay. So these people use black magic. They know a lot of things that we don't know. That's why it's the occult is just knowledge that's hidden from us, but they have readily available to them. So so yeah, so it's really
Really,
anyway, I'll just
knowledge
leave
of
it at
ourselves, right? That
that.
we don't know how our own brains work,
Yes.
and they hijack that.
Yes.
Sorry if you can hear my son, he's right outside the door.
No, I
He's
can't, but
okay, good,
yeah.
okay. Anyway, yeah, well, he is the light of creation. Like, he's still
Yes.
alive, and he's unadulterated because I have awareness, and they haven't been able to attack him. And hopefully he will have awareness, and he will be able to stand on having an attachment with his mother and having his intact body and not being poisoned by all the vaccines. And then like maybe then, and we're not feeding him we're doing our best, right? Because we are aware and we care. But then that'll give them the next level. Like you said on your website, children are our most precious asset for the future of mankind.
Obviously, right?
Yes. I mean, that is our future. And if we just send them off to the government school to have whatever, I mean, even the math now is like unrecognizable. They are just they're fully just eviscerating their heads. These kids don't know how to think. They can't even spell. They can't read. They graduate high school not reading, and then meanwhile, there's all that programming of like, this is normal. Get your government check. Like,
Yeah.
right.
And it's hard, what you're doing and what I did with my daughter, it's harder to do because you have to work a little extra to get the clean food. You have to work extra to not send them to the state government schools that indoctrinate them. You have to figure something else out, right?
Right.
You have to research things. You have to spend time with them, which they've made it very hard to do economically, but you have to invest in raising your child in a healthy way. And so for a lot of parents, a lot of people, and this is part of the abuse, they keep you on this hamster wheel. Right. Oh my God, I need to make enough money to pay my rent and to buy
I'm there. That's me.
But children are abandoned. That's all of us. They've made it this reality. When I was a child, I used to say, well, but who owns the earth that
right.
you have to, like, this concept of buying land or buying a home? I was like, well, but who owned it in the first place? Or even when they say like we're $1 trillion or however many $1 trillion in debt to who?
The people who are going to hurt you if you don't pay.
But who this is a planet, and we're beings on this planet. Like that whole system is fake too. There's no scarcity, there's no poverty. That's all engineered.
Right.
There's resources for everyone. Of course, money and the debt system is itself another chain on the link of our slave chains, right? So
right.
It's really awful, but they've really covered every avenue. But on the other hand, if you raise your son the way you are and the way I raised my daughter to see, when she was really little and we would watch some like little cartoons or shows or whatever, and there would be a commercial, I would say to her, I remember there was one about like Coke and people were driving in a red convertible. I was like, what are they trying to say? And she was like, oh, so if you drink a Coke, you'll have a lot of friends and a nice car. I was like, is that true? And she's like, no, that's stupid. So teaching her to analyze the tricks out there, the marketing, the BS, right? And so if we start raising our children this way, they're immune. Okay.
That's right.
And so how do you think we're going to move? They're the future generation that are going to run this planet. And so we need to absolutely, it takes a little extra work though, but we can get together with other people. We can grow food on a balcony in a pot. Okay. We can do community gardens. We can hire teachers who don't want to teach in these horrible schools and do like your own little schools, your little micro schools or your home schools or whatever, or just unschooling, letting kids learn as they want to. It takes.
You don't have to have the answer. That's the beauty of it. Everybody is, you know what I mean? You don't, when people are like, oh, well, if you don't send them to school, well, how are they going to learn? Like you immediately have to answer that. Like their parents will choose. Like, who am I to say? Like, why do I have to have an answer? Like, as an anarchist, people are always like, oh, who will build the roads? Like, I have to have an answer for that. All I know is that I'm not a slave, like what, but that
Well,
those
but
kind of,
it's not even a hard answer, Sean.
exactly.
Because, in every community, like if the government weren't taking most of your money, everyone could pool their money together for much less money and hire and pave a road or build a school or
Exactly.
create a garden. It's really not that complicated. They've dumbed us down. They've infantilized us. Humanity is like a bunch of children. And they want mommy and daddy government and mommy and daddy global agency to tell them what to do, how to do it, what they can and can't do, and even now what to think. It's a cop out. Okay. So that's where we are responsible to change our reality. The psychopaths are not going to suddenly not become psychopaths. Okay. It's up to us. We have to grow the F up and do what we need to do and stop consenting. And it's a moral thing too. People want to do what's easy. So yeah, if you, for example, a lot of people refuse to, I have a friend who's a doctor and she got fired because she refused to take the jab or jab other people. And that was a consequence for her. But
She
she
can
chose
sleep.
morality over
Right.
her income, right? And
Yes.
then she ended up getting hired back because they were so short staffed. So she ended up being fine and she's still. So yes, people say, oh, well, I had no choice. No, I'm sorry. You always have a choice.
That's right.
Yes, it's hard because they control this entire system. They've set it up in a way to keep us as slaves. But you can exit the system in small ways, start there, you know. It takes me longer, but I'll drive a 45 minutes to buy things from farms directly. Okay, I get raw milk, I get, meat that's from normal cows raised, humanely, sanely. There's farmers. I go to farms to buy the produce. I go to people who have chickens and I pay a little more, but I buy the real eggs. So you can find ways not to participate, for example, in their toxic food. I don't go to medical doctors. I don't do that. I don't consume that because it's toxic. Okay. So you can find other things that can help you heal. And, really, we can heal our own bodies. You can
Right.
use your mind to heal. I mean, that's why the placebo effect works because people believe they're getting a pill that's going to cure them and then they get better. It's up here. Everything is inside of us. Our healing, our physical healing, our emotional healing, our mental healing. But it takes a little extra effort to create, but we're going to have to create another way of living. I think it's pointless to fight them, but I think you withdraw and you start living differently and you create community and you
Yes.
help other people. And that's how, and then the more that happens, the more people are going to see, oh, should I choose this or this? Oh, this looks a lot healthier and a lot better. And again, when these people aren't injecting people, they're not spraying the chemtrails, they're not, killing the cattle, they're not doing these things. They're having people, normal people, obey their orders and do these heinous things to other humans. So we've got to stop. We've got to stop complying with
Right.
these people and doing things in a way that's moral and that's healthy and that's gonna move us all forward because we're all interconnected.
That's right.
That's really just one consciousness, and we're just each little pieces of that one consciousness experiencing life through our own eyes and our own experience and our own brain. But so that's another satanic lie that it's everyone out for themselves. That's not true. That's not how we win this.
That's right.
So yeah.
So well said. Yes, we can maintain the integrity of our food and our water. It takes a little bit more effort, and the love that we give our kids and the way that we teach our kids is really that's the weapon that's going to, because then those lies won't affect them. They won't have that trigger pulling on them, and if they do things in a moral way, then they won't have those handles to be controlled with either. uh, if they if they stay pure and just stay towards truth and love, then they will be invincible. And like, so basically, that's their worst fear, that we all start loving our children.
Yeah.
It's really, that's why they fight the family so much. And
Well, like your son, right? Like you're raising him, for example, you said to understand that he has bodily integrity.
yes,
Well, by the time he goes out in the world and someone tries to tell him he has to take this injection, he's already been formed. He's like, no, I have bodily integrity. Sorry, no.
yes.
That's right there what you've done to protect your son.
And that's the most important tool, is to give him awareness. And so that's what we're promoting with this show. I mean, that's what I strive to achieve for everyone. Like you were talking about little ways, like I just today I was on the couch with my son, and we were watching one of those Our Planet,
Mm.
where it's like beauty of nature and like really beautiful photography, and I'm a photographer. I love that, and so I'm like showing him pretty pictures of these animals and stuff, and all of a sudden these fish are so pretty, but then humans are killing them with nets, and I'm like, from the other room, I'm like, hey, they're making us hate humans here. Notice that? And like, it seems like every segment, oh, look at the beauty of nature. Oh, humans destroy it. Oh, look at this beautiful thing. Oh, humans destroy it. So like, and like it turned into all day. It was just like, oh, this lie and why. And it was a wonderful teaching moment and then he's like, I don't want it to tell me lies. And I said, okay, well, how about we just mute it? And just put it on mute and looked at the pictures and then listened to some good music. And we had a nice conversation, and really and I taught him about how the TV puts people, like the pretty pictures, the beautiful photography puts people into this awe state. And then all of these things can be put in their ears and they don't even, what? I don't know. That's true, I guess, whatever. Because like it's a mind control. They put him in an alpha state. So anyway, he's like aware of this, and he's like, I don't want it to do that to my brain. And I'm like, yeah. And we discover a way, okay, well, we'll listen to this music instead, and we'll watch the pretty pictures, and we'll talk, that's how it works. That's infinitely better than sending him to public school where he sits down and obeys what they say and eats the crap that they give him. And when the bell rings, like he's allowed to go pee or whatever, like it's like
No.
it is a prison.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
And they
I've
look
been to
like,
prison and public school, and it's the same.
yeah, it is. And that's very true. But see, that's a really good point, and that's great because you're teaching your son to critically think about what he's being fed, because he's going to be out there and experience these things, but now he has a brain to know how to interact with those things. But see, they want to convince us that humanity is evil, but they're evil. It's them, okay? But they want us to take on their sin and their karma, and of course, when we do their bidding, see, that's the other clever thing. When they get us to go fight their wars and kill other people, then humans are incurring that karma, not them, right? But
Right.
that's their whole twisted thing, is to hate ourselves, and that's the climate change agenda. Hate yourself. You're an evil human. You're destroying the planet. You're destroying the animals. That's a big effing hoax. It's a mind control program in and
Yeah.
of itself. But again, how do you depopulate? Like, they don't have, there's too many of us, and they don't have the resources to go just kill us directly. So, well, let's convince you to kill yourself. So, give up washing clothes. They've it's gotten to the point that washing machines are such water savers that people have to run them 3 times just to wash the clothes properly. It's all this, giving up that, because you've got to save the planet. They're laughing behind the scenes at how stupid people are. And and the whole CO2 thing is a crock too, because it's all inversion. So nature has its perfect balance. We inhale oxygen, we exhale carbon dioxide. Trees inhale carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen. It's a perfect symbiosis. So CO2 makes the planet green. The
Right.
more of if there is, the greener the planet. But they want to terraform this planet and make it, so it's all, and people just automatically believe like, oh, we have to. And I said this years ago. I said they're going to get to a point where they're going to tax us for breathing. And I saw a headline about that the other day. I saw a headline saying humans are going to
It's like
be.
Spaceballs with the can of Perry air,
It's
and he's like breathing from a can, like, oh, real air.
it's ridiculous. So,
Yeah.
and then it's all so backwards, inverted, and evil. So this sort of supposed green thing, like
Right.
wind farms and solar panel farms, they have to cut down so many more trees and destroy the habitat of so many more animals for a small fraction of energy from these, versus, so they say, oh, fossil fuels are bad, but actually that takes a lot, that destroys a lot less of the environment than the green thing. And then
Right.
people think that they're all like saintly because they have an electric car. What do you think is powering your electric car?
It's coal.
Fossil fuels.
Right.
Like what? And then the battery that's in your car, they had to
Right.
rape the earth and mine that and
Dig it up
destroy
with
so much
children from
more.
Africa.
Yes. So it's all such a joke. And I mean, if you even scratch the surface
Right.
of that and do a little research,
Circus. You said it right the first time.
yeah,
Circus of that. Yes.
you'll find out what the real reality of it all. But and actually, I was doing a little, every time there's something, I do a little digging and kind of, and I don't claim to know everything, and there's information you don't know really what information to trust sometimes and whatnot. But I found out that it actually doesn't come from fossils, that oil
Right.
is actually bacteria excrement. It's these
Interesting.
bacteria that live in the ground, and it's a renewable. But
Right.
again,
Yes.
again, you're not going to make money, and water is renewable. There's primary water inside the earth everywhere. But again, that wouldn't make certain people it's profit and it's control, right? So if you're going to control, and I don't even believe there's 8 billion people. I think they're lying about that too. Most of the earth is deep. It doesn't even have any people on it. Like that's
Right.
concentrated in big cities. And so it's all a lie. And it's hard. And I mean, it's hard for people don't want to wake up, because I think it's actually traumatic. It's your whole paradigm is shattered. You
Yes.
have to realize that the people you worshipped and thought were good and your leaders are psychopaths, and they're actually out to sicken and kill you. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
Well,
It
you mean
is. So
Trump's not going to save us? What? I mean,
that drives me crazy.
this mind
It,
control that they did this last time was unbelievable. I've never seen
yeah,
statism like this. Like, oh my God.
yeah. Well, they always have a layer of control ready. So when people that woke up from the mainstream media, they have the alt media. It's full of their people there too.
Mm,
And they're always distorting. So I was trying to explain to someone that Q was a psyop, and they were like,
right.
no, because they're telling the truth, and like they wouldn't reveal that to people. And I said, no, because the people that
Okay.
are zombified, they'll say it's a conspiracy theory and not believe it anyway. So they're
Yeah.
catering to the crowd that already knows the things they're saying. So they rope them in. Oh yeah, this must be a good guy, and then what's the twist? Remember always the twist? Trust the plan. In other
Right.
words, do
Sit down and do
nothing.
nothing. Right.
Sit down and do nothing.
Yeah.
And then the Trump, the savior, is going to ride in and make America. And see, patriots the conservatives are more awake than the liberals. They know more.
They have to
So
wield
they're
them because
the
they have the
unfortunate thing,
guns.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So unfortunately, they're taking that energy, which could be used for real change, and twisting it into supporting another one of their people. There
Right.
is no two
And all
parties. It's
those
all run by
men
the
were
same.
injected.
Yeah,
They
they're
all
all
got the
puppets.
injection, and they're all gonna, like, their hearts are gonna explode when they try to fight. I mean, they've all been, not all of them, but I mean,
Yeah,
they have destroyed the males. Like, I mean, look at the army of America. Like, they give breast implants to male army recruits. Like, it's crazy. I mean, so yeah, so like it's basically like mind control and trauma is the main tool of that mind control. And if we can heal our own trauma, then they won't be able to control us.
Yeah. Heal your trauma and find out the real truth out there.
That's right.
So find out what the real reality is, who's running the world and what the truth is, and then do your inner work and heal your wounds, because that's, like if people have negative entity attachments, they can only attach to wounding, to places that are still broken inside you, twisted. So yeah, and then once you do people say, how do I change the world? Well, start with you. Do your inner work, heal your trauma, step into, why did you come to this planet? What's your mission? What is it that you came here to do, to create, to be? There's a psychologist called Abraham Maslow, and he has this thing called a hierarchy of needs. And if you don't have your basic needs like food, shelter, safety met, you can't go to the higher levels of yourself to expand and to fulfill some kind of potential that you have. So of course they keep us in that survival, but we're not meant to live this way. And the good news is we don't have to live this way. We can change it, but it has to start here. No one's going to save you. No ETs, no ex-president, no 2,000-year-old man. None of that's going to happen. That wouldn't even be helpful, would it? Like, if you're gonna, how would that actually help the growth and evolution of a human race on a specific planet if they're saved? No, you have to save yourself. You have to do all of that, and there's a reward to that, because we can co-create a totally different world. I think we're on the path to that. I really do. I'm optimistic.
Well, we are walking together on the same path towards that greater goodness of the future, hopefully. And all listeners should check out Unbroken.Global and see the resources that you have and listen to the interviews that you've done. It's a wonderful wealth of knowledge, and your perspective is so necessary at this point in time. All the people that are waking up from the COVID fiasco and from the nuclear war that's happening. I mean, like, people they're shaken loose from this mind control tree, and they're looking for the reality. And I'm glad that your voice is speaking it so they can hear that. So please continue that. And I will do my best to support and anything I can. I would love to have your voice again. Please be a frequent guest to my show.
Of course. And thank you for having me. And, likewise, you're doing, we're both doing the same work. We're bringing voices on screen for people to learn from and know. And people are inspired when you've done a journey and you've recovered yourself, and it shows that we can all do it. So thank you too for having me. It's been a pleasure talking with you today.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure for me as well. And hopefully for the listeners too. We thank you immensely. And thank you, listeners, for listening. We will see you next time on Wake the Dead.